The Chicago Cubs ended their 5-game losing streak in dramatic fashion in extra inning fashion, while the White Sox continue to lose and lose badly despite delays and all the other foolishness. The NBA playoffs continue while one conference final series is over. The other conference final series, the Minnesota Timberwolves decided to we want to hold off some vacations just a little bit longer. A new sports radio adventure is about to make upon the sports broadcasting industry. We salute an NBA and college basketball legend and the Chicago Sky. Well, we'll give you some tidbits and nuggets about their game last night. That and a whole lot more as the special Wednesday edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I'm Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keenan again, the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite sports opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call the Sports Talk Radio Show. You can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you full ability about. But before we begin, we must remind you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color, not now, but right now on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC or your Android, just head up to Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and give it the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we'll provide you with some of the best here in this special Hump Day edition of Second City Sports. Of course, we'll have Montezz Allen to talk about this new sports adventure that he has working with teaming with Rod Parker, and talk about all things Detroit. We'll talk to him about the NBA and NFL. Speaking of the NBA, one of the all-time greats in both pro and college has passed over the Memorial Day weekend, and also to, of course, this guy. And a Hall of Famer, a recent basketball Hall of Famer, will be doing his thing on the mic for the Olympics. We'll tell you who that is in just a second, and so much more. But first, let's talk about the long weekend in baseball as the Cubs finally snapped their 6-game skid at the hands of beating the Brewers. Let's take a look at some highlights.
Average. Low home run total. High ball center field. That's well struck. Bush puts a charge into one, and it's gone. Off the ledge of the batter's eye, a towering fly ball to center field. And the Cubs are on the board. They lead it. High fly ball. This is trouble. Bellinger back some more at the wall. Jumps, and he makes the grab. Oh, Bellinger. A spectacular catch from Cody. And it stays 1-0. The base hit. Drilled right field. Going back Bowers. Back some more. Over his head. Suzuki is in. Bellinger on his heels. Happ is into second. It's 5-1.
And those happy highlights are, of course, from Marquee Network. Of course, Ben Brown, the rookie pitcher, took a no-hitter into the 8th inning. Of course, the bullpen, and the Cubs, left some runners on base, but then they've got some big hits from Seiya and Bellinger. So, Sid, I mean, this is a win that they desperately needed after, the last 6 games. So they have a chance to actually win the series this time around later today. And so what do you think about that whole sequence?
Well, first of all, the Cubs came through when they needed it most last night, especially after that disastrous 8th inning on Memorial Day on Monday, where the bullpen gave up all 5 runs, which led Milwaukee to that victory. She's heard and saw in those highlights too. The Cubs actually busted out the leather, Cody Bellinger in center field. We all know what you do with his bat. You saw what he did with his glove, and he brings that extra value to the team. You mentioned Seiya Suzuki. He was 1 for 5, but that one hit changed everything what he had last night. Cody Bellinger with 2 hits. Ian Happ, who's been struggling all year, batting .220. Even though he struck out twice, he came up big with 2 RBI in the top of the 10th inning. Michael Busch, who's been quiet as of late, he had 2 hits last night along with 2 RBI in the top of the 10th inning. So sometimes your stars, when they do not step up, you need other guys to fill in the holes. And that's what you saw throughout the Cubs lineup last night. It was those unsung heroes, as I talked about, with Michael Busch and Ian Happ, whom many people treat him as a star. Those guys came up big with their bats last night.
Yeah, and that was, like I said, that was a desperate. They desperately needed that after, like you said, what happened on Memorial Day weekend, especially on Memorial Day, especially. So I think this kind of shows you that this is the Cubs are capable of this kind of thing. I know I heard, some were wondering, are the Cubs even a good team? I think they are. I think they just need to start playing like it. The pitching, they've had really good pitching. I mean, they had a great start from Justin Steele on Monday. The bats just didn't produce. Now this is actually the case for Ben Brown. Had a no-hitter going into the 7th. They weren't able. The bullpen wasn't able to hold on, but the Cubs were able to kind of, for timely hitting. This is what you want consistently. So I think they're there at being a good team. I know they're just above 500 now, but you kind of think that maybe they just need something to kind of get it going. Hopefully, this win last night will get things going for them.
Yeah, all of this is about his consistency with this Cubs team. As I said before, I'll say it again. They're a top 4 team offensively in the National League when everybody's healthy, when everybody's consistent, next to Atlanta, the Dodgers, and the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll talk about the other teams on the flip side of this break. But as far as the Cubs is concerned, they've been consistently inconsistent all year. Yes, they had a bunch of injuries, but everybody does, and no one's going to feel sorry for you, and no one should make any excuses for it. Everybody else who's healthy has to play on. So your record says what you say you are, like the great Bill Parcells said. I know I don't have the exact quotation down, but you get the point. The Cubs are now 28 and 27 on the year, 13 and 16 away from the friendly confines. But the Cubs just got to find some consistency, especially with those bats. The starting pitch has not been the problem for this Cubs team, Lakina. We talked about the struggles of Justin Steele outside of his performance a couple of days ago. We talked about the struggles of Kyle Hendricks now demoted to the bullpen. It's been these other guys, like you mentioned, Ben Brown last night stepping up, Hayden Wisniewski being put in the bullpen. He's done a fabulous job coming out of the bullpen. But the starting pitch has not been a problem for this Cubs team. It's been the inconsistency with that offense added on top with the problems in the bullpen. So as long as the Cubs can get some consistency going while the other 2 problem areas catch up, I think they'll be okay. Milwaukee, they're a very good team. They're barely 8 games above 500. But as we said before, and I'll say it again, no one's going to run away with this division, I believe. Like I said, Milwaukee's good, but they don't have the type of team that's going to run away and high. Pittsburgh, they still struggling. Cincinnati, they got off to a bad start. So the Cubs, as long as they get their act together, they can put on one good winning streak. They're going to be there.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Shoto's on the bump tonight for the Cubs, and I think he needs more run support. I mean, just imagine his record. I think his ERA is like 7, like it's like 0.7 or 0.8 or something like that. It's still below 1. So they need to get that run support going. I know Jameson Talon goes up tomorrow in the rubber match. So if you're the Cubs, you want to try to win these next two to kind of like gain some ground in that NL Central. And look, we don't know what Milwaukee is right now. I mean, I think yes, I know they've been okay, but like I said, I think they're just a slightly better version of the Cubs at this point. So you have to think that maybe they might kind of get. They might fall back to earth a little bit as well. So, I think that Brown start definitely should help jumpstart this squad. And I think they show that they can do it, and they just got to do it more consistently.
Yeah, you mentioned teams like the Milwaukee Brewers. As I said before, I'll say it again. They don't have the offensive firepower like the Cubs do in terms of names. I know you got Willie Contreras. You still have Christian Yelich, the Asians veteran, that's still hanging around. Willie Adames as well. But their starting pitching, as I talked about before, in their bullpen, that's their strength of this team. And Freddie Peralta had a great performance last night, 5 2/3 innings, giving up only 1 earned run, 2 walks, but 11 strikeouts. It was very impressive. So the Cubs, they could have quit, but they hung in there and finally got to that Milwaukee Brewers bullpen in the 10th inning. So the guys just keep plugging away, be more consistent. And if they can do those two things, I think they'll be okay. Just one good winning streak will separate themselves from the rest of the pack, I believe. I'm not going to sit here and say the Cubs should run away and hide and win this division. No. But one good winning streak will separate themselves from the rest of the pack.
Also, too good for their confidence as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it perhaps, trying to still find that bullpen arm, that closer with Dazzler still out. So we'll see what happens there. Now we got to take a really quick break. Of course, we'll talk more baseball as the Sox. Okay. The rest of the we'll sprinkle some Stanley Cup playoffs as well. Things are getting kind of interesting at both the conference finals. All right, so we'll be doing Diamond Talk and Puck Talk coming up next. The Keenan McGee, Steve Brown, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago. More good stuff, great fun coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports with a special Wednesday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Matt Kenny McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
We have 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Two spot. Ball's lifted high in the air to left. Benintendi at the warning track. And he makes the catch at the wall. Let's go, Benny.
He goes back. The timing is perfect. He goes up and makes the catch. Good effort and a good play.
Did he hold up? No, he didn't. Bichette went around, and it's a strikeout.
Montezz.
Hit hard, and it passed the diving Guerrero Jr. Lopez digging for two. It rattles around in that corner. He's going for three. Nicky Lopez with a stand-up triple here in this first. This one sent up the middle, and it caroms off of Kiermaier in center. Jokes will score easily, and Lopez takes advantage and goes to second. An RBI for Nicky Lopez and the White Sox.
Oh, they actually found highlights. Of course, those highlights were courtesy of NBC Sports Chicago. The Sox have already lost the first two games of their series against Toronto. There was a rain delay for about 45 minutes last night, and look, like I said on Twitter, like why did they delay it? Like they could have just given Toronto a win. They weren't going to catch up. So of course 7-2, of course, was the final there. They have their rubber match coming up later today, I should say. So I mean, okay, you didn't get your butts kicked too much, but I mean, but then again, the Sox are going back into those bad habits that have already played them early this season.
And this is our good buddy Nick Borowski from Good Guys Talk Back White Sox podcast. I think he'll be proud of me. Pedro Grifol basically called the team out after almost being no hit on Sunday against the Baltimore Orioles in a series finale on the South Side. And the team, I'm just paraphrasing him, the team isn't playing hard. They got to bring in blah, blah, blah. And some of the players pushed back. When you start to see stuff like that happen, you know there are problems. We talked about before the season, Lakina, that this is going to be a different culture. There's going to be a different narrative from the last guys we saw on the South Side with Tim Anderson, Yasmani Grandal in that group. And we heard some of the stories already that those guys were getting along last year. Now you hear some of this stuff that's coming out. That's just not good. For the White Sox, we talked about this before. We'll say it again. It's all about finding out who's going to be a part of your core within the next couple of years. And this is what this is. Now, a couple of injury news and nuggets to pass around. Mike Clevenger, I don't know why the Sox brought him back because no one else wants him, but I digress. He's on a 15-day injured list due to elbow inflammation in his right elbow, his pitching elbow. And Luis Robert Jr., who's supposed to be back soon within the next week or two, he hit his first home run last night in his rehab start in Charlotte.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm just like, well, okay, that's nice. I mean, look, they've got some decent players. Like I said, Corey Lees, had a nice week against the Orioles, and actually was pretty good against the Blue Jays early on. But I just think, for me, I think that the Sox are the White Sox. I mean, I know Griffol's comments aside, like whatever. Like I don't know what else you can say about this team at this point. Like it's just hope we don't lose 140 games. That's all you can ask for, I guess, at this point if you're a White Sox fan. So. Yeah, that little bump that they did have a few weeks ago.
Yeah, whether you lose,
huh? What'd you say?
Oh, yeah, just a reminder for White Sox fans: whether you lose 90 or 100 games because the rules have changed, you're not going to get the number one pick anymore.
Oh no! So it is what it is how that works. So, like I said, I want to let's talk about the rest of the MLB because, like I said, I don't want to get depressed and get miffed talking about White Sox. So, what caught your eye in MLB these last week?
Unfortunately, just one more piece of bad news. If you're an Atlanta Braves fan, on Sunday, Ronald Acuna Jr., who hit a double, he tried to go back to second base, and he tore his ACL. I think it's the second time he's done that within the last 4 years. Of course, the first time he did that, the Braves won the World Series in 2021. Of course, they acquired Jorge Soler from in the trade at the trade deadline. But this time in this go around, he tore his ACL again, so he's going to be out for the rest of the season. Like, we talked about the Braves before dealing with injuries with Spencer Strider. Now, unfortunately, you had to add Ronald Acuna Jr. to the list. Your defending National League MVP. Of course, he plays stellar defense. He's stellar with the bat, and he's stellar running the bases. But he tried to get back to second base in last Sunday's victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates. He came up lame, so he's going to be gone for the rest of the year. The Braves front office has some work to do. Shout out to Shy Sox fan Mike on the Twitter X, so we follow each other. I think he was the first one to say this. I think Tommy Pham may be in a Braves uniform not too far distant future. I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, look, I know they got a nice prospects down there and for the Braves, and I think this is his other knee for Acuna Jr. So he actually tore his left ACL. Now is his right ACL. I know they did win the World Series without him, but again, when you have Philadelphia, we'll talk about them in a second, kind of like right there. You can't really, you're not going to be able to kind of like overcome that. So it was like the year that they won, the Phillies were kind of rebuilding. Now the Phillies are at the top. You can't really afford to have these kind of injuries. So yeah, I think Tommy Pham will be a good, nice showing. I know that there's going to be a couple other guys that are going to be. I know Pete Alonso. I don't know if they're going to want to. Mets going to want to trade in their division. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, a tough loss for the Braves. It's been a tough last.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tough last week for the Braves too. I mean, they've split their series so far with the Nationals, and they actually lost that series with the Pirates at a literal injury to insult. So, but the Phillies, they kind of got back on track a little bit. I know they lost their series against the Rockies, but look, they had won, I think, like 9 in a row or something like that. So I think people need to kind of just, that's fine. But look, I think the Phillies are kind of showing you that they're one of the hottest teams in the league, even with that little slip up that they have against the Rockies in Denver.
Yeah, we talked about the Phillies with their stellar hitting within their lineup, but their starting pitch is starting to catch on as well. We're talking about Aaron Nola. We're talking about Zach Wheeler. And Philadelphia has it going on right now. Now, are they going to run away and hide with this NL East? It's a possibility, especially with that Ronald Acuna Jr. injury to Atlanta. So I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to run away and hide, but they're in control of it right now. So, like you say, it's a long way to go. We're about to get into June. June 1st will be this coming Saturday, I believe. So we're kind of are looking at what these teams are made of right now as we pass the first quarter of this long 6-month journey.
Yeah, they're having a tough time. That West Coast trip, they lost their series to the Rockies, and they lost the first 2 against the Giants. They're hoping to kind of at least salvage a game in the Bay Area. We'll talk about the Giants. They're starting to get hot a little bit in a second. Now, staying in the let's just go to the National League. Let's go out west. The Dodgers. I know folks are kind of, I know Dodgers fans were already freaking out because they lost. They got swept by the Reds in Cincinnati, but now they're making up for it by. They've already beaten the Mets so far, including sweeping a doubleheader yesterday. Yesterday. Now they have a chance to sweep tonight. So all those folks that were hoping for Dave Roberts' head, now they're back to calming down, at least for now.
We talked about them getting off to a shaky start to start the year. The offense wasn't hitting. The pitching was carrying them. It was in particular Tyler Glass now and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He's starting to catch on now. They're a rookie pitcher from Japan, and so the starting pitcher that was getting off to a nice start. But you got to talk about the hitting where the Dodgers is starting to catch on again, especially now with them sweeping a doubleheader yesterday from the Mets. You talk about Shohei Ohtani, his power stroke is starting to come on. You talk about Freddie Freeman, who's started off struggling to start the year. He's starting to come on. Mookie Betts, who switched positions from outfield to second base. He's starting to bring it on right now. So, and don't forget about this unsung hero, Toscar Hernandez, who was on your Mariners last year, Lakina. He did some great things for them. Now he's on the Dodgers, and he's starting to swing the bat. So for the Dodgers, it's all about consistency. I'm still worried about their bullpen a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. But the Dodgers have it going on right now with their starting pitching to go along with their offense that's starting to click right now. So I'm not worried about the Dodgers. Like you said, for one day, they could calm down about Dave Roberts being fired. Yes, pressure is on him. I know there's pressure on the Dodgers to do well every year, but like you say, Lakina, some of the stuff is starting to get ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, just the silliness of it. Look, it's a long season, folks. Yes, they're going to lose a series. You might get swept. I mean, it happens. It's still well ahead in their NL West. You know, if they give anything, this should help get folks on there, keep the team on its toes. I think this is Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Steve Brown with you now. Now, probably one of the hottest teams. You know, the other hottest team is probably the Giants. They won 2 out of 3 over the weekend against the Mets, and now of course they won the first 2 against the Phillies. They're starting to kind of get things going. Luis Matos hit the walk-off sac fly to win that game last night, and it looks like they're starting to kind of get it going a little bit. I mean, like, I'm not going to seriously say they're going to challenge the Dodgers, and that's in the division, but they are getting hot, which I think folks were kind of expecting.
Yeah, the Giants, I know they've been having problems signing free agents over the last couple of years. I know they picked up Matt Chapman right before the season kicked off, but they're doing it right now with their starting pitcher. And their bullpen is not too bad either. So I know they don't have a lot of names, especially on offense. Whoever's left up there in their lineup, they keep bringing out big hits and coming up with clutch hits and things along that line. They played the game right. They're a fundamentally sound team. So the Giants, they might not scare you on paper, but if you make a couple of mistakes, they'll make you pay. And we've seen that so far in this series against Philadelphia, the best team, I believe, in baseball.
Now the Padres, on the other hand, you thought that maybe. I mean, look, we say this all the time. I mean, they did win the first 2 against the Marlins. But they did lose 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. So the Padres are kind of going back into sort of those habits where they do well against the Dodgers, but they don't do well against most of the rest of the league. So, again, they are going to win the series against the Marlins. So, but even still, I mean, the Padres, if they want to actually make a go in there for that one of those wild card spots, they gotta stay consistent.
Yeah, it's all about that offense. It has to stay consistent first. The starting pitcher, I think it's going to hold up. I know Dylan Cease has been touched up here and there, but overall, I believe he's been pretty good. And Yu Darvish, he's been there around the block so many times for a few different teams, and you know what you're going to get from him. But it's all going to start with that offense first, Lakina. I know they've been missing some guys here and there, but the offense just got to get back, go try to help out that starting pitcher. If they could do that, I believe they'll be okay.
We'll see if they can get things going here again. Now going to the AL East, the Yankees, they win. Like I said, they win 2 out of 3 against the Padres. Of course, they lost their opener against the Angels. They're on they're continuing the West Coast trip top of the Yankees. So a little bit of a bump from them, but they should be okay. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. And Baltimore, on the other hand, of course, they got that sweep from the White Sox. Not a big shocker there. Now they did lose their opener against the Red Sox, so we'll see if we can kind of get it going. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in that division. So so that's going to be the big thing here.
Yeah, for Baltimore, I still believe they're one of the best teams in baseball. We talk about their pitching, starting pitching. It looks like it's starting to come around. Their bullpen's been vapped up, led by veteran closer Craig Kimbrell. We the names by now in terms of offense for this Baltimore Orioles team. It's just that the starting pitching has to be consistent along with that offense, because that offense is going to give you at least 4 to 6 runs a ball game. It's just better hope that starting pitching holds up, because their bullpen is solid.
Very solid. So we'll see if they can keep it up. Now going to the Central, the Guardians. I know they lost their. They split their first 2 games against the Rockies over at Coors, and they swept the Angels. So it looks like and I think they've won like 7 of the last 8. So it looks like the Guardians are starting to get going after their early struggles.
I know Stephen Kwan, their leadoff hitter, is on the shelf right now on the injured list, but this team has kept on going. They started pitching has absolutely taken a total a step back, I should say, against the Rockies in this series. It's all been about offense, and let's be honest here, Lakina. I'll keep saying it 1,000 more times. Jose Ramirez, he's a top 3 candidate for AL MVP, along with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, both
Juan
for the
Soto.
Yankees. I was thinking about
Yeah,
Robinson
so-
Cano for some reason. That ugly brain of mine. Ugh.
You're thinking of the old Indians teams, but
Right.
you're thinking they got Cano on the brain, but yeah. On the flip side, though, for Kansas City, they've lost 3 in a row. They've lost, including their first 2 against Minnesota. Now, Bobby Wood Jr. has been still hitting lights out, so he hasn't been the problem. It's just that the rest of the team hasn't really. They've been kind of been sort of like on the up and up here. So these last couple weeks.
Yeah, the starting pitcher for the Minnesota Twins has actually stepped up here over these last few games. And as I said to you last month about the Royals, talk to me in a month about if I'm going to take them seriously as far as being a contender for a wild card. In these first 2 games, they have not shown up against the Minnesota Twins. You know me, putting my personal beef aside. At least I try to, being a White Sox fan. The Minnesota Twins, they're not going to blow you away, but they do the things that they have to. They've been there before as a veteran squad. Kansas City still learning on the fly. And I know that the Royals almost came back. They came back, but couldn't get over the hump on Monday. Last night, it was just that Minnesota just beat them flat out from start to finish. So for Kansas City to get over the next hump, you got to start beating some of these teams that are ahead of you.
That's the key. They want to catch up to the Guardians. Now going out west, the Mariners. My Mariners, not a good week. I know they lost their.
They beat the Trashros twice. Yay!
Yeah. Sorry, Brandon, if you're over there on the comments there, but I know they've had a tough go at the last couple of weeks. But it looks like they are starting to get back on track against the Astros, behind Mr. Julio Rodriguez and Josh Rojas. They were the key in that win against the Astros last night. So it looks like they're starting to get going here again after a little bit of a skid. But I think if you're the Mariners, we'll get to Texas in a second, because I know Texas Raiders fans should be a little bit, but the Mariners are actually looking pretty good again.
Yeah, remember last time, I talked about they started pitching and the bullpen. I was concerned about that. They starting to turn it around here, and you've seen that in these last 2 games against Houston. Of course, in the first game, the Mariners scored 3 runs, all in the first inning. It held up due to that great starting pitching in particular. But like you mentioned last night, they came up with a couple of big hits, and Julio Rodriguez was in the middle of that. So Seattle's finding multiple ways to win ball games. As I said to you last month, I'll say it here. It starts with their starting pitching, and hopefully the bullpen can pick up the pieces. So far, they've done that over these last 2 games against Houston.
Yeah, and on the flip side, though, Texas, after losing their weekend series against the Twins, we talked about that. They did win their opener against the Diamondbacks, I should say, and hopefully this will kind of get it going here. I know Texas fans I know they've got other issues going on with the flooding and stuff like that in that area, but the Rangers are they haven't been playing very well lately.
Yeah, despite all the outside distractions right now, they have the most players on the injury list. That's the most in MLB. I know they started pitching in the bullpen has been hurt by injuries, and they really have taken this toll. There's only so much that the office could do. You need your starting pitcher in particular to help you out. We haven't seen that so far with the Rangers. That's why they have a record that's a couple of games below 500. But if you start to get some of these guys back healthy, I think things will be okay. Like we talked about with Seattle, I think they're a good team, but I don't know if they're going to run away high. We know that Oakland's not very good, but you cannot overlook them on your schedule. And the Houston Astros, quietly, Lakina, we talked about them a little bit last week. It's starting to make us a quiet comeback. Will it hold up? I don't know, but as of right now, I'm not counting them out either. So if you're Texas, you got to get your stuff together and hopefully start to get some guys back healthy, because it looks like it's going to be an ugly, tight race from here on out.
Should be fun out there in the AL West. Let's go to the schedule real quick. Of course, Pittsburgh and Detroit, they're playing right now, as well as St. Louis and Cincinnati, Arizona and Texas. Philadelphia continue their West Coast trip. You'll finish up their series against San Francisco, hoping to salvage a game there. And of course, you've got the Dodgers and the messy Mets, as I call them. They haven't been playing very well lately.
That's a good nickname, Messy Mets.
Oh yeah, we gotta tell our buddy Ryan Field that maybe I was like I'll let him have that one for the finishing up their series as well. So yes, like I said, most of these series are just starting to finish up or they're getting ready to finish up. So Miami and San Diego, of course, are finished up their series, and Pittsburgh and Detroit. I mean, Detroit's been okay lately. We haven't got a chance to talk about them, but yeah, they finished up their series as well.
Yeah, currently they're wearing those ugly ass Motor City Connect jerseys out. Maybe we'll have Hayes, our guy Montezz Allen, about that coming up in our next segment. But the rest of the schedule looks like this: Washington would play Atlanta, the Cubs and the Brewers, Kansas City in Minnesota, Cleveland at Colorado, the Yankees and the Angels, and the Astros will finish up with the Mariners. Looking at tomorrow's schedule, it's the same thing. Only difference is the Diamondbacks and the Mets will start their 4-game series from New York City. And, of course, the Detroit Tigers, that we just mentioned a moment ago, they'll start their 4-game series. That's tomorrow at Boston to take on the Red Sox.
Oh, don't forget the Yankees and the Angels also start their series.
Well, they'll be finishing up, tomorrow.
They'll finish up their series tonight, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it makes it the only big difference there now. Real quick before we go over to the NHL, the Negro Leagues. MLB has decided to add in the Negro Leagues statistics there.
Yay.
Finally, put it to MLB. And now Josh Gibson now has the record for best OPS and best batting average, among others. So, Sid, what do you think about that little news that dropped yesterday?
It's about damn time. And we all know that the Negro Leagues, they were a counterpart to the Major Leagues. Remember, Major League Baseball didn't have that many teams back then. And the Negro Leagues had better talent. Don't forget about Satchel Paige and Jackie Robinson, who brought that style of baseball to the Major Leagues as well. So, and I heard some, and I heard some counter arguments that the Negro League should be celebrated on its own without the help of Major League Baseball. I'm not sure we're going to get into that with Montezz Allen coming up next hour. But, regardless of what side of the argument you fall on, it's time for the Negro Leagues to be respected. And they had some of the best ball players, better than Major League Baseball players during that time, during that era. So I'm glad that they're finally getting that dude. Just hopefully we all start to learn just a little bit more about the Negro Leagues. I know there's been stories and history been told. Some of it's been told here and there, but everything must be told now. And so I'm glad hopefully this will start the conversations and finally start with all of us digging into even deeper history within the Negro Leagues.
I think that's the important thing as well. I mean, you got Josh Gibson. I mean, he now has he has an OPS and a better bat average than guys like Babe Ruth, guys like Ted Williams. So I think their story needs to be told. I know that folks around have been fighting for years. I know that, like you said, some were saying that, well, they should stand on its own. I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with that, but it is still baseball. So to put them in part of the landscape of the mainstream baseball. And look, I mean, we do Jackie Robinson Day every year, but I think, today's players, especially black players who may not want to play baseball anymore. We've seen the numbers the last 10, 15 years. Maybe this will get, those guys at Private House, hey, maybe I should play baseball. So hopefully this will be a start of even bigger things happening and with the stats. So we'll see what happens there. Now, let's do hockey as Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago as we wrap things up here. In the first hour, we got our buddy Montezz Allen already on deck. 5 minutes early, I guess. Going by the Tom Coughlin clock, I guess. But,
we love it.
but that's cool. We like it that way. What do you think about the conference finals in the Stanley Cup? I see Sam Reinhart's game-winning goal in overtime help the Panthers even their series with the Rangers.
Well, the Rangers were tested a little bit in the last round, looking against your Carolina Hurricanes, but they survived that. They're getting a real test right now against the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Final. I don't know about you, Lakina, but I believe, in my opinion, from the second period on through the end of that game, the Florida Panthers took control of that game. They led in shots on goal. They took control of the game physicality-wise, but the Rangers started to turn the puck over, and they started having giveaways, and Florida took advantage of it. And you know this as well as I do. Come playoff time, especially in Stanley Cup playoff hockey, any little mistake can be magnified 1,000 times, but you start turning the puck over and start missing checks and leaving loose pucks out there in front of the net. The other team takes advantage of it, and that's what happened with Florida last night.
And also too with the power play. I mean, the power play kind of got to the Rangers a little bit. They were able to, they were able to kind of go about it against the Hurricanes, but they actually haven't. I think they're like 1 for 5 so far in this series. So yeah, I mean. But to the Panthers credit, I should say they were able to kind of even things out. Now it's a best of 3, so things getting interesting over there. Could we be seeing maybe I can't imagine Panarin doing a guarantee like Mark Messier did. I can't picture. He's not that outspoken, so that's never been his style. But we'll see what happens now as far as the Western Conference series that returns tonight. And Dallas has a 2-1 lead over Edmonton. Do you think they will? Edmonton, they need to get Connor McDavid going. That's really going to be the key, and Evander Kane as well. So they have to get it going. They have Game 4 at home, so they got to get those guys going. They want to tie the series.
I think Edmonton will win tonight. I know they got cut off the heels in the last game on Monday. The Stars beating the Oilers 5-3. We talked about this before the series started. It's going to be about scoring. Who's going to stand on his head? I think if not tonight, definitely in the next game. Which starting goaltender is going to stand on his head? As we talked about with Ryan Field from ABC7 in New York last Friday on our show. Jake Ottinger, I believe he's been the second best goalie from the Dallas Stars. He's been the second best goalie, in my opinion, in the NHL in these playoffs. So if not tonight, definitely the next game. Who's going to be that goalie who's going to stand on his head and steal a win? Because it's been an offensive series thus far. So we'll see what happens here tonight. I think Edmonton will win tonight, but I still have the Dallas Stars win this series in 6.
All right, so speaking of that Game 4, it will be tonight on TNT. Of course, TNT is the home of the Western Conference Finals. So Dallas and Edmonton, we'll see if the Oilers can even the series.
Yeah, and tomorrow's game of the Eastern Conference Finals in Game 5 is going back to Madison Square Garden. It's the New York Rangers and the Florida Panthers. The series is tied up at 2 games apiece. Who's going to take control of that one? We'll have to see tomorrow night. That's at 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN.
And that is your schedule for the rest of the week in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports continues with Montezz Allen on Sports Rap Radio AM 1270 in Detroit. We'll talk NFL, NBA, and its new venture and a whole lot more. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so...
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the special Wednesday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Makina McGee on the Twitter, X, and Kim Screen on the IG.
We have less than 55 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. If you have any questions or comments for us, especially for our next guest, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the 11 color right now on Roku TV.
All right, so I know you had him on when you were doing the Dean Davis show, so I'm glad he was able to come on with us. He is starting a new adventure on Sports Rap Radio AM 1270 in Detroit. So we're gonna come and bring on with us right now. We'll talk some NFL and NBA as well with him. So here is Mr. Montezz Allen.
Yay!
Excuse me.
What up, though, family? How y'all doing? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, cool, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, man. Sid, it's been a long time.
Yeah, been a real long time. As Lakina mentioned, we had you on the Dean Davis show where we was doing our show in downtown Chicago. Of course, you were working in Chicago at the time. I know you still have a relationship with our guy Kyle Means from War Media, of course, Damon Sproul as well, and Kenneth Davis. And there was some interesting debates, especially during that time when the LeBron Michael Jordan debate. We won't get into that too much here, hopefully not. But it was always a pleasure having you in studio. And I forgot which interviewer, which guest we had on, but we let him ask a question during one of our interviews, which rarely happened at that time. But it was always a nice chopping it up with you. I know you was doing your thing in Georgia, being a TV sports anchor throughout the last few years. But it was nice having you as we were trying to grow as a show. Of course, what impact we had. Of course, we all know what the great work you did there, did here in Chicago, and you still continue to do. But I'll flip the script and start now. I was going to save it to the end, but we'll start now. But I saw an article about a month and a half ago about Rob Parker of Fox Sports Radio. Of course, he worked in Detroit for many years. Of course, native Detroiter VJ Armstrong. Of course, they are now the head of operations at Sports Rap Radio, AM 1270 WXYT in Detroit. And I heard Rob Parker say your name, of course, on the Odd Couple a couple weeks ago. I was like, I remember that name. Of course, I gave you a shout out on Twitter X a couple of weeks ago. Truly appreciated you. We tweeted, but I was like, yeah, we used to have him in studio on the old Dean Davis shows. I'm glad to see this man doing well. So with that being said, I'm gonna shut up, rambling, because I can do that every once in a while. But how did this venture with you and Rob Parker in Sports Rap Radio come about?
Man, honestly, it's a blessing. It's a door that opened that I never saw coming. And I'm not gonna get into the full story, but I'll tell you this: I was in Georgia, and one day Rob texted me like, "Hey, Montez, don't say anything yet. I'm waiting until it hit the papers that I'm going to be launching the country's first all-black sports talk radio station in Detroit. He was like, and I want you to be a part of it, but I hit you up in about 2 weeks, right? He said, I hit you in about 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay, okay. And I'm living in Georgia. You know, the weather in Georgia, woo, beautiful down there. So when he hit me up, that was probably around late March, right? So I had no clue I was going to move back to Michigan. So then maybe about a week and a half to 2 weeks later, he sent me another text. Everything hit the papers like, hey, you want to move back and do a sports talk radio show with Lindsey Hunter? And I said, yes. Like, why not? I don't have nothing to lose. Life is all about risk. And I just think it was a blessing for him to even think about me, to put me in this position to do that. And obviously, I met Rob Parker with my senior year in undergrad at Oakland University here in Rochester, Michigan. So, and we kind of been cool ever since. He's been my mentor ever since. So I packed everything up and moved. Now I'm back in Michigan. So, when he was telling me everything about who was on board and who my co-host would be and everybody that was involved and the logistics of it and how it was going to be the first all black, I said, man, this could be something huge, right? So this could be something huge, and especially when it's the country's first, so I can be a part of history. And so I just dropped everything, moved my entire life back to my stomping grounds of Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah, you guys are gonna be sponsored by Odyssey, so I know they want to grow on their sports side, so that's always great to see. Now, what makes you think this is going to be different from all the, of course, the mainstream sports radio stations? Of course, now being all black, you got that. We have different perspective when it comes to sports and other topics as well. So, is that what you think is going to bring to the table there at the station?
I think so because Detroit is 79% black, and a lot of Detroiters they listen to 97.1 The Ticket, which is a great station and whatnot. But I just think that what's going to make it different is going to be more so of that barbershop talk. That if you ever go to a barbershop, especially in the black community, the amount of sports and how people talk sports is really different. It's more so like you at the table, maybe having a couple of cocktails, talking to your best friend, right? And I just think we're missing that in Detroit, and it's very rare. I'm sorry if you hear a phone ringing. It's very rare for that to happen. So when he told me about that, I was just on board with it, and I just think the team that we have is going to bring a unique perspective around sports. And I know it's a lot of sports shows out there, but I just think with Detroit being 79% black and most of them kind of listening to 97.1 The Ticket, I think we'll bring an interesting perspective to the city. And not only that, most people, or mostly all of us that are a part of the team, are all from Detroit. So I just think that's going to be different, and we'll see what happens.
From what I saw some of the lists of the talent that Rob Parker and BJ Armstrong has brought on to help launch your guys' station. I saw J.R. Gamble on that list and Gary Sheffield Jr. Yes, they're Gary Sheffield. That should be in the Hall of Fame, but I digress from that. But from your perspective, talk to us about some of the other talent that's been brought on board. It looks like there's going to be a big venture, and we're definitely rooting for you guys to win. So, and hopefully it'll spread across the country.
Well, yeah, Martin Weiss, who's on, who works at Fox with Rob, he's great. He's from Michigan as well. We all know Lindsey Hunter, who played for the Pistons. And I just think the collective, man, is just our experience, what we bring it to the table. I just think it's going to be unique. And again, you never know, it's all, we're starting up from scratch, so you never know. But I am a huge fan of having faith. And I just think, the team that they assemble can be like the Avengers, it can be something like that, man. So, again, you never know how things are going to work out. But again, I believe like, life is all about risk, and you never know until you actually put your all into it. So I think we have some of the best talent, and I think a lot of people within a city will relate to us in a way that we will grow a following, because I think we're going to be genuine and down to earth, but also I think our takes are going to be amazing and controversial, but we're going to, speak like true Detroiters, and because I think Detroit, we got a different type of swag. I know I was living in Chicago. Y'all got swag too. Y'all got swag. But I just think it's something different about Detroit, that especially with the city coming back, and how well the Lions did. Just a lot of things are going down, especially downtown. I just think it's going to draw a whole bunch of people in. So we'll see.
Yeah, I can't wait for you guys to launch. So it's going to be very interesting. So we'll promote more about that near the end here. But let's get to some of the hottest sports topics. Of course, we'll start with the NBA. Boston going to the NBA Finals for the 23rd time in their franchise history. Of course, Jaylen Brown won most outstanding player in the Eastern Conference Finals. Of course, they sweep the Pacers. Were you surprised that they were able to sweep them? And if so, I think this was definitely especially the rest. I think that's definitely what it is. They'll go too deep.
I'm not surprised at all. Now, one thing I would say is you got to give credit to Indiana. Like they did, I think their team and Rick Carlisle, they're doing an excellent job there. That team, they have a squad. But after Halliburton went down, I knew it. I'm like, it's no way. After they blew game one, and then Halliburton goes down, I'm like, it's just no way that they would even get a game. I mean, they came close, but I just think that they need all of the pieces to the puzzle to even make an impact on Boston. So once they were swept, I wasn't surprised, man. And, I'm actually not surprised about Jaylen Brown winning most outstanding player either, because, a lot of people are talking about Jason Tatum and he's the next man up and, it's on him for them to win a championship. And that can very well be true. But when I look at a guy like Jaylen Brown, I mean, he's just as good as Jason Tatum. He can do everything Jason Tatum can do. He can play defense he can literally do everything. So I think the onus is on both of them. But like again, to answer your question, I'm not shocked at all after Halliburton went down. And I kind of think they were a little demoralized after game one when they blew it, when Indiana blew it, which we all know that was a choke job. But I think what Rick Carlisle is doing is he's doing an excellent job, and that team is fairly young, right? It's one of the youngest teams in the NBA. So they can take this as a learning experience, straight up. I mean, this is a flat out learning experience. They have a nice core, but I'm not shocked at all. Boston is just on another level, and that's why they're in the finals. And you only can play who's ahead of you. Can't. Injuries are a part of the game. And it's really no excuses. And you can only play who's out there on the floor. So, I actually picked Boston. Let me backtrack. I picked Milwaukee to make it to the finals. But again, injuries are a part of the game. Boston stayed healthy for the most part without Porzingis, obviously, who should be making his way back. But I'm not shocked at all that they swept Indiana and are back in the finals.
My next question to you was going to be about Jason Tatum. And some people have, even though he's a top 10 player in the NBA, I think some of the criticism, in my personal opinion, has been unfair. Like, he needs to be like the late, great Kobe Bryant with that alpha dog mentality. He doesn't take over the game enough. He's not dominant enough. He's not alpha enough. I'm looking at some of these pundits like, really? What more do you want him to do? I wanted to get your thoughts about Jason Tatum.
I love Jason Tatum. Me and my friends talk about him all the time. And I want to say he averaged 30, 10, and 9. Like, oh my God.
Like I said, what do you want him to do?
What else you want him to do? You want him to average 90, 60, and 60? Okay. I mean, this guy is averaging, he's balling. Look, y'all, you see it, especially you know how big of a Kobe. I'm a Kobe guy, right?
Yeah.
There will never be another Kobe Bryant. He was like Mike. That's a different type of pedigree, right? It's not LeBron is not even on that Kobe type of mentality level. And LeBron is one of the greatest of all time. So what I'm seeing for Jason Tatum, he's doing exactly what can he disappear sometimes? Sure. Is he not as aggressive sometimes? Sure. But I think number one, they're back in the finals. Okay. He's averaging 30, 10. I don't know exact 30, 10, 6, 8, something like that. Right. What else do you want this man to do? He's not Kobe. He's not Mike. But we are in an era, in a generation of comparison. I understand that, if you want to be considered one of the greatest players of all time, comparisons, I get it. But this man, it's not like he's stinking it up like Karl Anthony Towns, who had a great game last game. But for the most part, Jason Tatum is doing well. Even when he struggles, I think he finds a way to impact the game in different ways, or he'd make a big shot or two that propels Boston to a win. So the comparisons to Kobe, and I know he, that was his idol and he worked out with him and whatnot, but it's only one Kobe Bryant. And there's not too many players that would even grace or touch the hem of his garment in terms of Kobe Bryant. So I don't have too, I watch Fox all the time and all these people kind of bash Jason Tatum. But to me, I think, number one, he's only 15 years old. Okay, he still got Similac on his breath. And he's back in the finals and he's been playing well. So, of course, there's going to be room for growth. I just think that it's a lot of people are going to talk whether you're winning or losing. Now, I will say this. He got to win a championship, though. And it might not be this year because I think it's Dallas's year. I think it's Kyrie's year. But he does have to win a championship. I think he has to win at least one. At least one. But all the criticism, sometimes when he has a bad game, it could be rightfully so. But when you're averaging 30, 10, and 6, what else do you want this man to do?
Yeah.
What else?
Well, yeah, they tried to start something early on, Get Out, with that Tatum wasn't happy that Brown won most outstanding player honors. Or like, really? He was like right there, like clapping and hugging, well, whatever. But let's talk about that Western Conference final for a second. Of course, the T-Wolves came off elimination. Like you said, Montezz, Karl-Anthony Towns actually showed up, with 25 points. Oh, well, look at that. Of course, Anthony Edwards, you can kind of say he's kind of like in that next tier of the big, clutch guy, if you will. So, do you think the T-Wolves? I know you pretty much said it when you said it's Dallas's year, but do you think they can at least extend it a little bit? The T-Wolves can.
I would put it like this, man. How the T-Wolves were looking, they looking like they were going to win a championship. They were how they did Denver and how they did Phoenix. I never would have guessed that, right? So you got to give all credit to them, and they're also one of the youngest teams in the leagues too. Do I think they can win this series? No. I think that was the team that showed up last night that had heart. And that's what you're supposed to do. Ant-Man said it the best. We ain't getting swept, right? And I just think that was a team with heart. And I know we are talking bad about Cat, but he showed a lot of heart as well. He's the reason why they won that game last night. He's the reason. Came up big down the stretch before he got fouled out. So I'm not shocked. Now, you're going back to Minnesota. Can they get that game? I think so. Do I think we're going to win? Whew, my heart is telling me that Dallas is going to close it out in Minnesota, but it's just tough, man. They're making the adjustments. They're putting Ant-Man on Luka and McDaniels on Kyrie. That's a good adjustment. But then again, I think Dallas with Jay Kidd, who's a championship coach, is going to come back as well and make more adjustments. So I'm just going to go with my first mind. I actually do think that Minnesota will win in Minnesota. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And then Dallas wins in Dallas. But it's just a team full of heart, man. Those are some young Bulls over there. And only way I would say Dallas can win in Minnesota is just Kyrie and Luka plays lights out. And we all know, I know Kyrie had a bad game. You want to consider it a bad game. He had like 16 points. Then some people say Luka had a bad game, but he had a triple-double. Like, what else do you want this man to do? Imagine having a bad game with a triple-double. And Luka misses that free throw. If Luka makes that free throw, what? It's 103, 101. Mm-hmm. And anything can happen from, I know they gave up that layup late to Naz Reid. But my first mind is telling me that Minnesota will win in Minnesota. I'm actually rooting for Dallas. I really would love to see Kyrie win a ring without LeBron James. So all that talk. And by the way, I'm going to say this to anybody out there. I feel like we need to send out to the whole world a Kyrie apology form, and have everybody sign it, because the amount of bashing done to Kyrie, and I know he brought some of it to himself, with the not taking the vaccine in Brooklyn and all these things in Boston. But we're all human at the end of the day. Last time I checked, we're all human. Last time I checked, we all made some mistakes. This guy, Kyrie, when he plays, is unstoppable. And the fact that he is actually the leader on that team, and he's making Luka play at his highest level, and as being a leader, I have to take my hat off to Kyrie. But I'm gonna just put it like this. I do think Minnesota can win the next game. I want Dallas to close it out, but something in me is saying Minnesota is going to win. I would not be shocked if the Mags. I wouldn't be shocked if the Mavs won though. I just how they look those first three games, man. They look unstoppable. Kyrie and everybody, they're clicking on all cylinders. And I was just talking to Lindsey Hunter the other day, last night. He had called me when we was watching the game. The closeout game is the hardest game. So I'm actually not shocked. I'm just interested to see what you guys think.
Here's the thing about what happened last night. You mentioned Minnesota was playing with heart. They were playing with desperation too. And even though Karl-Anthony Towns has been averaging 15.5 points in this series, he stepped up last night. Anthony Edwards, he hasn't had a great series either, but he stepped up. He had 29 points last night. And then my question to you is, I'm not asking you to compare him to young Michael Jordan. I believe that's unfair. I think Anthony Edwards said to himself to compare him to Michael Jordan is unfair. But I want to ask you about Anthony Edwards, about his evolution. We saw him make his playoff debut 3 years ago against Memphis, and his game is continuing to grow each year. What do you think about Anthony Edwards' game right now? And do you think that he could be better, only given the fact that he's only 22 years old?
Better than who?
I'll ask you.
I thought you were about to say.
No. This ain't the Michael Jordan thing. Well, we're going to leave that alone.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Of
Do you
course
think
he's
his game
gonna
can get better?
man. Of course, man. If you don't get better at 22 and you're only 22 years old, that means you're not working on your game. And this guy, you can tell he's a basketball savant. You can tell he loves to be in the gym. And you can tell at 22 now that he's been working on his game, especially what he did to Phoenix. So what I think about him, I think they need to stop the Michael Jordan comparisons. To me, he don't look anything like Michael Jordan, in my opinion. But I think the way he plays in his game and his heart and his offensive bag, I don't even think he's in his prime yet. So when he starts to get in his prime, if he can get, I don't know when he's going to win a championship. I know it's not going to be this year, but everything he's going through right now, the experience that he's getting, just everything about him, the way he answers questions after the games, even in losses, even being down 0-3, even after winning last night, I just think he has the entire package to be the next face of the NBA for sure. I think he got the offensive bag. I think he's not scared to guard the best player in the squad, even though Kyrie is teaching him right now. Don't you ever call out a guy like Kyrie Irving, because he will make, go nuts on you. But you know what? I have no problem with what he said and that and taking on a challenge of guarding a guy like Kyrie. So I think, in the next 5 years, man, when he's Jason Tatum's age, because I want to say Jason Tatum is about 27 years old. By the time he's 27, I think he can definitely be better than Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, all these guys, Paul George. I don't know if he'll ever get to the Mike and Kobe level, but from what I'm seeing from him, number one, he has that dog in you. He's not scared to take the last shot. He's not scared to dunk on you. He's not scared to make you look stupid. And he also is not scared to take the blame at the end of games. So, even in losses or in wins. Even if he wins, he would, if you really notice, he big ups Cat. He big ups other players on that team. So I think he has the leadership quality. He has the clutch gene. He's not scared to take the big shot. He's not scared to guard the best player on the floor. He definitely got an offensive bag because his hezzy is ridiculous. And then he will bang on you. So, of course, if you don't get better and you're only 22 years old, that means you're not working on your game. And he doesn't strike me as a player that's not working on his game. He does not strike me as a player that rather loves to party more than being in the gym, right? So, of course, he's going to get better. But please stop the Michael Jordan comparisons. Michael Jordan averaged 30 for his career, even as a rookie. So I just don't want to hear it. To me, he doesn't play anything like Mike. But that, a lot of times the media can kind of push that on you. I'm like, man, that's unfair, man. First of all, it's this guy named Kobe. First, it's T-Mac. It's, all these players that play wing positions. I know he's more of a shooting guard, but the T-Macs, the Carmelo Anthony's, the Paul Georges, like all these guys, man, Anthony got to get better than them. And, at 22 years old, you got to give him some time. But by the time he's about 25, I can definitely see him being the face of the league and going nuts and averaging almost 30 a game. I can definitely see that.
last few moments with our buddy, Sports Rap Radio, AM 1270s. Montezz Allen here on Second Seed Sports on Sports of Chicago. Keenan McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Let's talk a little NFL with now that we got you on, Montezz. Of course, Jared Goff got a massive contract extension, probably more than I think a lot of people thought. So what do you think about that contract? And can Detroit take that next step and even perhaps go to the Super Bowl?
I was just literally talking to Lindsay about this too last night, and I would put it like this, man. To 212 million, 170 guaranteed. You are the highest paid player in franchise history in terms of the Detroit Lions. You are the second highest paid player in the league behind Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow. So in a sense, you're saying that this guy is a top 3 quarterback in the league right now. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't like it. I didn't like for them to pay him 170 million guaranteed. I just don't think. Now look, the Lions played great, and I always say this too. The Lions remind me of the 2004 Detroit Pistons that really didn't have a superstar. You might say like Chauncey Billups was a superstar in his own right, maybe Rip in his own right, Ben in his own right, and you have Rasheed. And the Lions kind of remind me of that team, to where it's not really a superstar on that team, but they're all playing great collectively. They're all playing great in this system where everybody seems like they're thriving. So I can see, if you really think about Jared Goff in the past 2 seasons that he's had, and I just took down some notes, he ranks top 4 in the NFL in the passing yards, passing TDs, TD to interception ratio, and first down rate. I mean, I guess, I'm all about a player getting their bag. So I didn't like the amount they paid him. But number one, I can't hate on the bag that you're getting. Number two, he's the best quarterback that we have, probably besides Matthew Stafford, even though Matthew Stafford could not win. So I guess it's warranted for him to get that money. I didn't like it, but hey, it ain't about me. It's about him. He's probably the best quarterback we've had since Matt Stafford. And we'll just see what happens. There's a lot of pressure on you now at this point. It's championship or bust, right? It's championship or bust. I actually thought we was going to beat San Francisco last year. I thought we was going to beat San Francisco, and I thought we choked that game away. I thought we choked that game away because of experience. We've never been there before. So I didn't like the amount of money. And then I'm going to tell you this too. Right now, the Lions they dished out $444 million in contract extensions. Mm-hmm. So that's what, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then you have another offensive tackle, and then you got Goff. So I think we're doing the right thing in trying to lock up our stars to see, especially based off performance. But at the end of the day, you just got to go on the field and play, and I just have to see their play. Right now, it is championship or bust. We shelling out all this money, and we played very well. Our defense played great. You better earn that money, and you better play as well and stay healthy. I just hope it's not a little curse to where now we pay him all this money and he gets injured, because Jared Goff is always healthy, which, the best ability is availability. So we will see moving forward. I think we can get back to the same level. It's usually very rare in football, but, we dishing out all this money. He's been healthy. He has gotten that team behind him and a franchise behind him. It's championship or bust, in my opinion. There's no excuses.
We all know that the NFC is wide open, even after what San Francisco did last year and giving that Super Bowl away to a very vulnerable Kansas City Chiefs team. But I'll focus in on our division in NFC North. Of course, you have Minnesota. They'll have a new quarterback. The Bears have a new quarterback. Half the fan base here think that Caleb's their savior, but I'll leave that alone. And, of course, you have Green Bay and Jordan Love. If you're a Lions fan, which team that you should be afraid of in the NFC North?
I don't know why I knew he was going to ask me that. I'm going to say Green Bay with Jordan Love. I just think with you already know, I lived in Chicago for 7 years. I know that fan base. I know that fan base. Chicago is like the Dallas Cowboys, man. Y'all sometimes can be so delusional. Oh my God. Oh my God. Even Detroit Lions fans could be delusional. We can, but I don't think we're so delusional to think that we're going to win a Super Bowl every year. And I get that, I'm going to say Jordan Love. I fear him more. I think he has more experience. You know, you have a rookie quarterback coming in with the Bears, and he has to show what he can do. I got to see if his backside is going to get tight and palms get sweaty under the bright lights when he starts playing. You know, but I'm going to go ahead and say Jordan. He has the experience. We know what he can do already, right? So to me, you know, unlike Jesus, I don't need to see it with Jesus. But with these human players, I need to see it with them. I need to see it. I've seen it with Jordan Love, right? I don't know what Jordan could do, but I haven't seen it with Caleb yet. So I'm gonna say Jordan.
Last question for me, Montez. The NFL PA has announced that they want to shorten. Well, they want to get rid of OTAs. I guess they want to have like a long training camp starting in late June, mid July, and I guess. If you go to the Super Bowl, perhaps they're already talking about having a presence, a Sunday before President's Day Super Bowl. So, what do you think about that? Because it seems a little bit it seems a little ass backwards in my opinion. So, what do you think about that whole thing that the NFLPA is trying to do?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. The NFL is one of those weird. I hear a lot of people say the no fun league, right? And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Whatever they choose to do, it doesn't really bother. I mean, it sounds like it bothers you, but that doesn't really bother me at all. Let's just get to the regular season. Let's watch these teams play, and let's see who's going to make it to the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. So stuff like that, honestly, Lakina, it doesn't bother me at all. You know, the NFL is so tricky, so many rules, and everything's being tossed around. And you want to shorten, the preseason, blah blah blah. I call it preseason, but all these things. That actually does not shock me. It doesn't bother me. Let the players hash out their money, do what they got to do, whether they want to attend or not. That really doesn't bother me. It just to me, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's get down to the season. Make sure most people are healthy, and let's get on this gridiron and let's play. So things like that, it really don't bother me. How do you feel about it?
I'm kind of indifferent about it because. If you're on summer vacation, you have kids. I'm trying to think who are these players that kind of want to do this because you're basically going to be working for them 7 or 8 months. So that's a little kind of long. So you don't really have an off season. So I guess you want to get rid of OTAs, which are going on right now as we speak. So I get what you're saying. I get what this group wants to do, but it kind of feels like it's okay. You're going to be around football for 7 or 8 months, and of course the coaches and the GMs aren't very happy about this concept either. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you have to say. See it.
I think the NFL trying to be greedy again. I know they have, not to go off topic here, I know they have 5 international games this year trying to make the game international. And of course, they've taken over Christmas from the NBA, which is unfortunate if you're an NBA fan. But I think this is a way of the NFL being greedy once again. And I don't know if they're going to get away with this one, but we'll see.
We'll see. But like I said, it doesn't. I'm indifferent about it. It doesn't. When I saw that, I was like, "Huh? Okay, what's the next topic?" In my opinion, what's the next topic? So we will see. But it doesn't bother me. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It does not bother me whatsoever.
All right, this was Montezz Allen, Sports Talk Radio show host for the soon-to-be new AM 1270 Sports Right Radio in Detroit. They're going to launch their new station on Monday at 6 a.m., I believe, Chicago time. Montezz, before we let you go, where can people follow you on social media and tell us about the new startup date, Monday, June 3rd, and where can people tune in, and where can people find your podcast? Where will the podcast be available immediately after the shows? Tell us all about it.
So to start off, you can find me on Instagram it's all my name, Tezz, T-E-Z-Z Talks Sports. Same thing on Twitter, and same thing on Facebook. I started a new Facebook page for that specifically. So you can Tezz Talk Sports. Tezz is T-E-Z-Z. Also, you can be able to listen to us on Odyssey. The Odyssey app, make sure you download the Odyssey app. And yes, you're right, it launches on June 3rd. I'm in my beautiful city of Detroit now. So Chicago, you're an hour behind us, right? I don't forget. I
yes.
Yes.
7 years.
Yes.
I haven't been in Chicago since 2019, man. So that's crazy, and it flew by fast, and but definitely you can listen to the audio, the Odyssey app for sure. When I would get with one of the producers to see how they're gonna do with the podcasting, how it will be available after the shows. So I'm actually meeting at the station today, right after this. I'm gonna be talking to the Rob about everything, and then I also just hit you up as well, Sid, and let you know everything as well. So just Tez Talk Sports on pretty much all platforms. I just started a TikTok for it, Instagram, Facebook, and and the launch date is Monday, June 3rd. We'll also be having a launch party downtown at Nikki, so I'm very, very excited about that, man. And as I always said, thank you for having me on. I think it's a true blessing for you to allow me to be on, and I'm really proud of you and Lakina, what you all are doing here, because just remember, just going back to the Chicago days, just hearing you and Demons and Ken talk, and Ken bashing me because he think I hate Chicago and hate LeBron, and I just tell him I feel it up though, man.
Yeah.
And, I really appreciate having. I just think it's a true blessing, and I'm honored for you to reach out, man. You didn't have to do that.
Oh, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us. Of course, after I heard Rob Parker say your name a couple of weeks ago, I said I got to reach out to him, and we're definitely going to support you guys in this new venture. Hopefully, when it grows, that's WHEN. When it grows, hopefully this concept will grow to other cities like here in Chicago, which we desperately need. I don't care what nobody says, but you guys are going to do well in Detroit. It needs to grow in other cities, and of course, hopefully, it'll grow throughout the whole United States. So, read room for you guys. Tell everybody we say hello, and they definitely have, along with you, of course, they definitely have an open invitation to join us here on Second City Sports.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Really appreciate it. I just got to say one thing: Kobe better than LeBron James to this day.
Good luck.
Yes.
We'll definitely get you on again soon.
Thank you. I'll have a blessing. Okay.
You too. Much continued success.
Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That was Montezz from from Sports Rap Radio 1280, 1270, I should say, here over in Detroit. So let's say we got to take a really quick break, of course. We'll talk a little WNBA, some sports media news as a recent Basketball Hall of Famer. We'll be doing some TV work for the Olympics on the mic, and a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports, on Sports of Chicago. Wrap up the fun coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on a special Wednesday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. If you want to follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG, you can do so at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow me, Keenan McGee, on the Twitter, X, and Keenan again, the IG.
We have less than 25 minutes left for this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us during our last break of the show for today, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's talk a little WNBA, I guess, to get that out the way. Unfortunately for the Sky, they lose a tough one. I kind of, we talked about that. We've been talking about that, like we've been saying before, and they're kind of like one of those teams where like they are expected to lose, kind of like be one of the worst teams in the league. They had a tough go against the Seattle Storm, 77-68. So just and unfortunately, just kind of like where this team's at right now. That was the Storm's third straight win. They've been hot lately, and now of course this guy go under 500 to 2-3 in the early season.
Yeah, for the Chicago Sky, we talked about this on our last show. I like the new head coach. I like the new head coach, Teresa Weatherspoon. She's trying to implement a new system and a new culture into the Chicago Sky. Those players play hard for her. You're not going to get beat too many times. Even in the first victory, I believe they had against the Dallas Wings almost 2 weeks ago. Now, they had 19 turnovers, but they found a way to win. Now, they may not be the most talented team on paper, but they're going to give you their best effort every night. And that's what you like to see from young teams like that. Establish an identity early, find your core players, and who's going to be there for the long run when this team finally wins. Do I think they still have a chance to sneak into the playoffs? I think so, but these things do take time. It's a brand new coach, a brand new coaching staff, brand new players. So I know Camila Cardoso is not in the lineup yet. I know she'll be back in there soon, but it's going to take time, but I don't think the Sky is too far off. I'm not saying they're going to win a WNBA championship. No, I believe that belongs to the Las Vegas Aces, okay? But the things are not as bad as they appear to be right now.
We'll see. I believe their next game, I think, is tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. They'll play the Sparks. Who, speaking of the Sparks,
yeah, they host the Sparks tomorrow.
Yeah, they, speaking of the Sparks, they got the best of Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Too much of Kia Nurse and Rakia Jackson for them, despite Caitlin Clark's 30 points, her career high. But unfortunately, okay, like I said, gotta have a good supporting cast around you. So the Sparks, they're 2-4 right now. The Fever, they're 1-7. So not a good look so far. But again, we'll see what the rest of the season goes. Like I said, they have a couple more months left in the regular season. So we'll see if they can kind of, maybe we'll see if the Fever can get it going. But it looks like right now, Minnesota Lynx and the Las Vegas Aces are the top two teams in the league right now. So we'll see. These are the same two teams that I believe faced each other. Well, no, I think they faced each other like a couple years ago in the WNBA finals. So we'll see if those two teams, they actually play tonight. So we'll see what happens there. You can catch that game on NBA TV. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown with you. Sid, let's talk some sports media news. Some big news came across with some of the Olympic basketball.
Of course, the Summer Olympics will be in Paris in late July. So we still have a few weeks to go before that. But Noah Eagle, the voice of college football for NBC, I know Lakina interviewed him a couple years ago. Yes, the son of Iron Eagle of CBS Sports and the Brooklyn Nets fame. He will be the voice of USA women's and men's basketball for the Olympics. And of course, his color commentator is Chicago's very own Via Robbins. Dwayne Wade and Lachina Robinson of ESPN. She's going to help out with the basketball coverage as well. So congratulations to all three people for all three talents for again that prestigious assignment.
Yeah, we'll just see if D Wade's gonna will be able because a lot of those guys he played against. So we'll just see how much if it does get to kind of like the critiques and stuff that we'll be able to do that. So he has LaChana Robinson who's been doing this forever. So she's been doing women's and she did some men's hoops as well. So I'm sure she'll she'll show and Noah too will show D Wade the rope. So hope we can get Noah on before the Olympics. I know he's going to be a very busy guy the next few months. So we'll try to get the feelers out for that. But yeah, we'll definitely see how D Wade does doing television. We saw him do studio stuff with Inside the NBA for a couple of years. But it'll be interesting to see how he does in game action.
I know it hasn't been official yet, Lakina, speaking of Inside the NBA, but next season will be their last year, of course, with Turner and Warner Brothers discovering with their relationship with the NBA is going to come to a close. But looking at this announcing crew for the Olympics, maybe it's just me reading into things too much. Sometimes I do that, good and bad. But do you think this could be at least the number one crew or the number two crew when the NBA on NBC returns in 2 years?
Well, this might be D Wade's audition for that. If that's the case,
that's what I'm looking at. Because the Nor Eagle will probably be the number one voice for that, or if Carolyn Harlan doesn't go over there, I think Nor Eagle will have that spot.
I think Mike Tirico might have something to say about that as well. I know he does, of course.
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football, of course, but that doesn't start till like late in September. I'm guessing they're doing to the springtime. Maybe Noah will do some of the games when he's not doing college football. So they got a lot to kind of decide here. And like I said, we got a year before we have to decide for that. But it's like I said, this could be a kind of a test out. So we'll see.
Yep. Of course, sticking with the topic of basketball, of course, a Hall of Fame legend passed away over the weekend. His name was Bill Walton. He played for UCLA in college as part of the College Basketball Hall of Fame. He passed away at the age of 71 due to cancer. I know he kept that very private, which no one knew about. Of course, I mentioned he won 2 championships at UCLA. And of course, he won 2 championships in the NBA on the 77 team with the Portland Trail Blazers. That won an only title to this day for that franchise. And of course, he won 6th Man of the Year, and he won another NBA championship in 1986, helping the Boston Celtics to Larry Bird's last title during that year. And they had the league's best record that year at 67 wins. Of course, they swept the second-year player named Michael Jordan, the Bulls, in the first round during that year in 1986, 3-0. Of course, they beat the Twin Towers and Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon and the Houston Rockets in 6 in that final round. So, Lakina, as we said before, with many of the legends that we grew up listening to and watching, a generation knows Bill Walton as a player. Our generation knows him as a broadcaster, and the younger generation knows him through YouTube clips and things along that line. So what were your initial thoughts when you heard the news a couple of days ago that Mr. Walton had passed?
Yeah, I think it's shock. I think because, like you said, a lot of people didn't know. I think only like close relatives and friends knew that he was suffering from cancer, and apparently this has been going on for like almost over a year now. So you didn't really see that, but I mean, he was definitely a larger than life figure, and you thought that he was one of those guys where you thought that he was going to outlive us. There was another guy that you thought was going to outlive us, but just a great life that he led. I mean, of course, broke all kinds of records. He was at UCLA, and in the early 70s, playing for John Wooden. And goes to Portland. Maurice Lucas, who he passed away some years ago prior, but his of course his son Bill's son Luke is actually named after Maurice Lucas. They were actually very close. I remember when he passed away, he was very devastated. Talking about Bill was because they were like brothers. That Portland squad that beat Philadelphia, that won that championship in 1977. Of course, it was pandemonium in Portland. Of course, he lost his jersey. If you saw, go back and watch the clips on YouTube. It's sort of right there. And of course, not going off topic, but of course, Dr. J. Julius Ervin said that something. And I'm paraphrasing, but like in the lines of we'll win this, and it took them about 6 years before they won it. Of course, sweeping the Lakers. But back to Mr. Walton, but. He loved the Grateful Dead. He loved his weed. He loved I know being a commentator was the acquired taste for some folks. Of course, Jason Benetti. Of course, when he did the White Sox, of course they did a couple of games together a few years ago, and it was sort of one of those things where he just knew kind of like you were going to get something totally different, and that's what you got. And I remember Dave Patch, of course, was at ESPN, said that well, of course we all kind of he had those weird looks where every time he kind of went off the rails. But he did say he loved the guy and he didn't want anybody to know that. So, and he loved him too. So that was really great. And hearing some of the stories that various people have, sharing memories and stuff like that. So that was really cool to see this last couple of days.
Yeah, and like you said, most of our generation knew him as a broadcaster. Of course, he did work with TNT for a little bit, but mostly with NBC. And for those of you that are listening and watching us in Southern California, he did the Los Angeles Clippers games as well throughout the 90s and the early 2000s with the Hall of Fame announcer Ralph Lawler. So he was part of the broadcasting world. Whether he liked his style or not, he had a zest for life. He definitely had the knowledge, and so you couldn't question that. But like you say, he had the love of life. He was unapologetically him, and it's something that unfortunately folks don't appreciate until they're gone. But I didn't get to see him much as a player like him because unfortunately injuries took his best years away from us. I'm talking about during his playing days, and so you could have made the argument if he would have stayed healthy. Maybe he still would have been on the Celtics and whatnot. That could be debatable. But if injuries didn't take his prime years away, you could argue that he would have been the best top 5 big men of all time, next to Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal. And then, of course, you can argue, was he better than Shaq and David Robinson and Patrick Ewing if the injuries throughout his prime years weren't taken away from us?
Well, you could tell that he was out a lot during the '86 championship run that Boston went on. And if you heard Robert Parrish, you heard Rick Carlisle say that he was kind of like just sort of, I don't want to say he was just there, but he's kind of like he was always there encouraging them. And you saw how emotional Coach Carlisle got before that. Of course, his team, the Pacers, got eliminated, and swept. But you saw kind of like sharing like memories and stuff like that. They all went to a Grateful Dead concert. It was just definitely marched to the beat of his own drummer. I'm talking about Mr. Wald, and he was definitely like I said, that cult figure that a lot of people like you said. I mean, look, was his commentating an acquired taste for some? Yeah, I mean, was it conventional? No, but again, you can never deny that the guy knew basketball. Mm-hmm. He knew basketball, and I implore folks, you didn't watch 30 for 30, The Luckiest Guy. I know they aired it during on Monday night when he passed. I'm sure it's on YouTube as well. Check it out and just see just kind of like how right before he got real sick. I mean, just kind of like saw what much knowledge and this is just for life.
And don't forget also too as well. I want to bring up this point before we move on. He was also an activist, and remember during that time when he came out from college to the NBA, we were wrapping up. I'm using air quotes. They're wrapping up in our involvement in the Vietnam War. He was very outspoken about that. He was outspoken on various issues as well. And I don't know if you call this, Lakina. You talk about that documentary which re-aired the other night. They played the old clip from the now deceased Maurice Lucas. I guess the field producer asked him if he was black, what do you think would have happened to him? He said he wouldn't have been in the league very long.
Well, considering, I mean, he's right. I mean, considering how that was like an old clip of him saying that. It was, and I believe him when he says, I mean, like, I think if he had done what he did, with some of the things that he kind of went through, I think, he probably would not have been in the league for very long, especially at that time. Because if you remember, like, it was still kind of limiting, and, how people, of course, the players nowadays kind of express themselves a little bit, but if a black player had done that, if he or any other black player at the time would have done that, they probably would not have been in the league very long. So the fact that he was able to get away with it, I guess, kind of shows you a lot.
So from all of us here at Second City Sports and Sports Zone Chicago, we'll send our condolences and our thoughts to the Walton family during this challenging time. All right, Lakina, to your world of college football, Snoop Dogg, yes, Snoop Dogg, a.k.a. Calvin Brothers for the government, as D would say. He's going to have his own college bowl named after him, and it's going to be airing on the CW. You tell me how times have changed, have come so far. We remember rap music barely getting on radio. Now they're going to be sponsoring a college bowl game.
Yeah,
Go
the
figure.
Arizona Bowl will now be sponsored by Snoop Dogg. And also, too, the NIL, I guess it'll be the first bowl game to offer NIL as a prize. So whoever goes there will be extra incentive, especially with all the conference realignments and such. So, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be very interesting to see how a lot of these teams approach this, because it's gonna get a little bit, it's gonna get a little bit interesting there to see how various teams like, hey, look, you want to go to a mid-tier bowl game? I guess if you're Snoop Dogg, I mean, look, it's not mid-tier. He's gonna do it up in Arizona.
Yes. Yes. And if whether you like him or not, whether you like his music or not, he has a very long relationship with the game of football. I believe he still does it now, but definitely do his heyday he did. He used to run camps back in his hometown, and a bunch of NFL stars came out of his camps. So, like I said, this is nothing new with Snoop Dogg doing something with the game of football. And as I mentioned about with the music earlier, you can get rappers over the years to perform at halftime shows like Nelly did last year at the Big 12 Conference Championship game. The hip hop has come so far, and now you get to a sponsor bowl game. That's tremendous on the business perspective.
Well, look, it only helps, right? I mean, even some of the coaches have admitted they listen to rap music. So, well, I don't know about the older coaches, but I doubt Dabo Sweeney does. But I'm sure some of the younger coaches probably who are out there
Yeah,
probably do
the
listen
younger
to,
coaches, yeah.
who definitely listen to rap. But I'm sure Sharon Moore, of course, a new coach over at Michigan, I'm sure he listened to it, listen to rap music. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be fascinating to watch as we get close to the season. Like, who's going to be vying for a spot in that Arizona Bowl sponsored by Snoop Dogg?
Lakina, I don't want to end on a sad note, but your quick thoughts about the golfer that passed over the weekend?
Yeah, Grayson Murray. I mean, reading the story about he was at the he was at I forgot all of the tournament, but he withdrew, saying that it was medical, but then we find out that he had been suffering. It was actually very upfront about his suffering from various the depression and also mental health issues. And of course, sadly, his parents came out and said that he died from suicide, and just awful. And I forgot who the golfer was because it was a different league, but he said that after he won his tournament, he said that maybe reach out, or kind of check in on your people and just be kind of there for that person. So it's just unfortunate that I'm sure our girl Christine Manica will join us in a little on Friday, and I'm sure she'll tell us more about this. She'll have more about this, but it's just unfortunate. This is sort of like what happened. I know CBS they were very sensitive to the coverage of it and to his death. So just awful news to hear over the weekend.
Yeah, we send our condolences to the family and friends of the passing of the golfer and throughout this challenging time. Now we will end on this on a good note, Lakina. As we transition here, we'll end the show on a good note too. I was at the Sox game over the weekend last Saturday, and I will pull a Tom Joyner cord. For those who don't know who Tom Joyner is, Google him. Miss Lakina would say Google is your friend. But shout out to hopefully future friend of the show, Scott Merkin, White Sox writer for MLB.com. I got a chance to meet him finally in person last Saturday. He was hanging out with our new good friend of the show, Miss Maddie Spagnola, who threw out the first pitch along with Shy Sox fan Mike at the Windy City Bolts game last Saturday night, I should say. Of course, Maddie Spagnola, a good friend of ours. She's part of the Chicago Bears podcast here on YouTube, and she does great work at Sox on 35th. I ran into her last Saturday, so if you missed her first pitch, you could go on her social media, Maddie Spagnola, and check it out there. So I want to give a shout out to Maddie and Scott Merkin. I ran into both of them on Saturday. Both of them were good spirits, and it was good times. It's just good times.
Yeah, hope we get May on. I hope we get Scott on too. I would love to hear his perspective. And I know it's an adventure covering the White Sox lately, especially in the last couple of years. But he's being professional. He's making the most of it. So that's all you can ask for. Now the French Open is going on right now, and could this be the end of an era? Zverev beat Nadal, and of course, Nadal kind of said that he is going to participate in the Olympics. Speaking of the Olympics, unfortunately, it could be his last go around. So, what do you think? I know you saw a little bit of clip of it over the week.
Yeah, I was in shock like everybody else, but that's that old saying goes, it gets lonely at the top. You can't stay at the top forever. Only have a limited amount of time before you go down. So, it's been a great career for him, and it comes unexpectedly at times, but sometimes it's time for a new change, and it's time for the new guard to come in, and sometimes it happens like this.
Alcaraz won his match earlier today. On the women's side, our girl Coco Gauff had no trouble in her third round match. So, cheering for her to go far. I know she's kind of been banged up a little bit, but it looks like she is recovering. Iga Swiatek, she needed 3 sets, but she beat Naomi Osaka. So, things are going on here at Roland Garros. So, hopefully we'll see the men on the American side, perhaps maybe become the first American to win the French Open since he got all the way back to when Agassi did it back in '99. Yes, kids, it's been that long. So hopefully we can have. There are some Americans.
I graduated high school that year, so you know how long ago that was.
Yeah, of course. You got Sepsitis and Alcaraz there as well. So we'll see what happens. But check out the French Open on Tennis Channel if you got it.
All right, who wins Game 5 tomorrow night between Dallas and Minnesota in the NBA playoffs? Does Dallas wrap it up, or will Anthony Edwards' guarantee of a Game 6 be secured?
I think so. I think Cat has to stay consistent. That's something that's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He has to stay consistent. Also too, of course, you gotta Gobert's got to be a little bit better as well. I think the guys, Reed, McDaniels, those guys have to step up as well. And I know I know that Target is going to be rocking, so I know they're going to be willing this team to a Game 5 victory, and I think that's what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, both guys, big guys for the Timberwolves, Cat and Rudy Gobert, both had to stay out of foul trouble. I know Towns was in foul trouble again last night, but he was able to overcome it. And for Anthony Edwards, just continue to be aggressive, make the right play. And what Minnesota did a little bit last night, they need to do a little bit better in Game 5 tomorrow. Share the basketball. Because Dallas is one of the best defensive teams in the league, and they'll force you into some bad turnovers. Minnesota take care of basketball, make the right play, make the right pass. If they can do that, they'll win Game 5.
I would say look out for Luka too. It looks like he's not 100%, so you wonder since it's going to be every other day, it's going to be a travel day, and they got to play again tomorrow. So look out for that. That could be a determining factor to see how far this series goes. Does it go 7?
Mm-hmm.
Does it end in 5 or 6? So that might be something to look out for. Luka, a banged up Luka. So we'll see. But PJ Washington had to step up for the Mavs. He was 3 for 13 last night. So if Dallas wants to end this series, the supporting players have to step up, especially if Luka's still a little bit not 100%.
Yeah, I like Derek Lively. He's been the story of these playoffs thus far. Also, too, Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to step up as well.
You can catch Game 5 tomorrow night on TNT.
All right, Lakina, take us home.
You can find my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keena's going to be on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more time, as Lakina would say, catch Second City Sports live in the 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Of course, we'd like to thank Mr. Montezz Allen for joining us from Sports Rap Radio 1270 in Detroit. Of course, they launch officially on Monday. And of course, if you got the Odyssey app and just type in Sports Rap Radio AM, it's right there for you if you want to listen to it outside Detroit. So it's all right there for you. Hopefully I'm sure they'll have the podcast up, I'm sure, within that next few hours. So that's
and don't forget, you can go to Sports Rap Radio. That's Sports Rap, RAPRadioDetroit.com. That's their official website. So check that out as well.
Of course, you get Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. So if you have Roku app wherever on your Play Store that you got, whatever device you have it on, type in Sports Zone Chicago. I know you guys have done that over the weekend, the long holiday weekend. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, What's Up Cuz, and a whole lot more. And of course, we'll have some new content as well, original content. So you can catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV.
And you know we will provide.
All right, so enjoy all the games. Hopefully we'll get a game 6 on in NBA. Hopefully, we'll see how things go in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Of course, you got some MLB action and WNBA as well, and so much more. For Sid, I'm Lakina. This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Excuse me, and we'll see you Friday.
2 days, Friday. Yay! Holla!